Colts are in a tough spot going into this season. They're returning a third-year quarterback, Anthony Richardson, who had ups and downs, looking like a dominant rushing threat in his first 3 starts when he had 3 rushing touchdowns before going down in Week 5 of his rookie season to a shoulder injury. He returned in 2024 and sustained further injuries before being benched for Joe Flacco in Week 9. Richardson took back over the starting role in Week 11. He went 3-2 and then was injured for a third time in his 2-year career and was put on IR for the final 2 weeks of the season. In the offseason, the Colts brought in some offensive weapons that could be very impactful this season, and Tyler Warren, and then a competitor for Richardson and Daniel Jones. Jones is not someone I see Colt fans getting excited to have at the helm, given that he's thrown for 3,000-plus yards twice in 6 years and 20-plus touchdowns once. But he does provide experience and maturity in the QB room, so maybe he can push Richardson to take a next step. On the defensive side of the ball, they returned 7 starters to a unit that was 3rd in PFF run defense grade, but 19th in pass rush and 24th in sacks, recording only 2.1 sacks a game. They also bolstered the secondary with free safety Cam Bynum from Minnesota and cornerback Charvarius Ward, who had elite seasons in 2022 and 2023, before a down year in 2024 that was likely attributed to off-field tragedy when he and his wife lost their 1-year-old daughter. My question is, around this Colts team, Shane Steichen drafted Anthony Richardson in his first year as the head coach in 2023, and has since gone 9-8 and 8-9. Are their fates tied together? And could this be one of / both of their final years with the Colts if it doesn't go well, or is there a way for a Colts to part way with just one and can keep the other in-house?
I don't see Shane Steichen leaving at any point, and I will have a counter to that argument in itself here in a little bit. But I don't think Shane Steichen is in that spot where if Anthony Richardson goes, he goes, because that first season Anthony Richardson played basically 3 games. Minshew came in, and they were literally 1 play away from winning the AFC South in their own building. Literally 1 play. A missed pass by Minshew is the difference in a season. So, as Steichen, I think, has done a great job, especially taking over from Frank Wright and Jeff Saturday. And with the pieces that he's had, which is pretty much bad mid quarterback play, I think they've done an admirable job. Richardson, I think, in-house, out-of-house, and the fan base and the NFL is viewed as he is the issue here. The Colts took the flyer on him, picking him at 4, but he is supposed to play like a 4th overall pick, and he hasn't been. And he has been preparing like a 4th overall pick. Go back and look at the first 8 weeks of the season before he got benched. It was literally like a television show. Week 1, he makes one of the best throws anyone has ever seen against the Texans, where he was basically standing facing the end zone, chest facing the end zone, and throws a dart 78 yards down the field in the air, all the way to the end zone. It's one of the best throws of the season. And then he has a loss to Malik Willis in Lambeau Field against Green Bay. He had an injury where Joe Flacco comes in, and him and Alec Pierce just like dart up the Jaguars, and the Colts almost break the curse in Jacksonville. And then he comes back, and he has one of the most embarrassing decisions by a quarterback ever, to tap out of a football game because he's tired. And it culminated such a weird season for Anthony Richardson, where you had last season that kind of looked good in his first 4 games, gets the shoulder injury, does the surgery, is out for the season, and just like that, his rookie season is over. And now his sophomore season, it was not great. Anthony Richardson goes before Shane Steichen, in my opinion. But I can understand a Shane Steichen take, and I'm actually going to make that take here in a little bit.
What take? That Steichen is on the hot seat?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know enough to like really give you an answer.
Okay.
But I'll just say it right now, as we're kind of talking about Anthony Richardson, is I think this is his last year as a starter at Indianapolis. I expect him to get benched.
Or is he the starter, I guess? Like,
he right now, the leader in house, out of house, feeling around the league is that Daniel Jones is going to start week 1.
Yeah.
Well, then there you go. Like, my expectation was that Richardson would play and play poorly and just do the stuff that pisses everyone off to the point where he gets benched and it becomes Daniel Jones' team, which is crazy if you're going to bench for Daniel Jones because crazy is a little strong because I understand Daniel Jones is not like a downright terrible QB.
He's won a playoff game.
Yeah, but like
Justin Herbert hasn't.
Justin Herbert's a way better QB than Daniel Jones. So
yeah, that's
I'm just saying like you're not. There's
Facts.
no like high upside with Daniel Jones. You're not like, let's at least try this other guy out and see what we have here. You know what you have with Daniel Jones is what I'm saying. So for them to completely like close the book on Anthony Richardson says a lot when
Sure.
the other option is Daniel Jones.
I think it would play out well for them if they were, okay, we're going to bring up Justin Herbert's stats in a Colts segment. Let's not get into that.
That's
please.
crazy. That's crazy.
We'll talk about
that's just crazy. You just try to make
We can
fun.
air our grievances about Justin Herbert
Yeah,
when we talk
me
about
and
the Chargers.
Jack are about to defend.
I
our boy
would
Justin
literally
Herbert.
just ask one question, and the answer would be 0, and then I could ask another question, and the answer would be 1, and that's enough for me.
All right.
That's enough on that subject. We can get to the Chargers when that's here. But I think it would play out well for them if they didn't like Richardson. And even if Daniel Jones was fine this season because of the quarterbacks in next year's draft, I think it would play out well for them. My take on like the Shane Steichen on the hot seat is rooted in what if they are really, really bad? Like what if they're like 5 games below 500 at one point? And it makes me think of Frank Wright. It also makes me think of Chuck Pagano. Prior to that, Tony Dungy is really the only version of a Colts, head coach where it wasn't the season was bad. Pull up the Frank Wright, his 5 seasons in Indianapolis, where the season didn't go bad and then he was fired. Jim Irsay sadly passed away this offseason. His daughters are going to take over the team, ownership, and kind of run the operation from there. So the Colts are missing a huge piece of their organization. That is like, it's like the Clippers losing Ballmer. Like it's the heart of the organization. It's like if during the Mavericks runs, Cuban passed away. Like it feels like that. He was the pulse of the Colts. He was the Colts, both with their current players and their alumni. But Frank Wright, if you look at his seasons, he had good seasons and he rolled through quarterbacks too. Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz. They almost make the playoffs, but have the disaster in Jacksonville to end the season. And then Matt Ryan comes in, and he's terrible, and Frank Reich gets fired. Matt Ryan got let go as well. So I'm curious, pull up Shane Steichen, through 2 seasons, 9-8, 8-9, as we talked about, missed the postseason by literally a play, and then missed the postseason last year by 2 games. I'm wondering if Daniel Jones if he plays bad enough, will that be the reason Shane Steichen gets fired? Because I don't think if Anthony Richardson is bad, it's a firing of Shane Steichen because we already know Anthony Richardson is bad. And while we do know Daniel Jones is bad in some games, although he won a playoff game.
Can we say Daniel Jones is mid?
Daniel Jones is worth 1 year and $15.5 million, apparently. I wish I could get paid $15.5 million to play like Daniel Jones. But if Daniel Jones is bad and they are below 500 big time, I'm curious, then is Shane Steichen going to get fired? And I guess I'd throw that over to you guys.
I mean, I think I'm kind
That would be the link for me, is Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen.
I could see that happening, and I also see the Anthony Richardson being bad, leading to him being fired. So maybe it's just the point where if the Colts are bad, the head coach is going to get fired. Maybe that's where I am, because I could see both those things happening. I see the AR thing happening because it's kind of like Nagy and Justin Fields was at the pair when Nagy got fired and Fields was released because it didn't work out and they brought in Caleb Williams. Like, that's a pretty common trend, is like when a coach comes in and he takes his quarterback.
Well, Fields had Eberflus for a year, but
Okay.
Sure.
It's like
kind of similar.
Yeah. So it's when coaches and QBs get paired together and their fates are intertwined. I kind of see that Anthony Richardson affecting Steichen that way, but then could also see if Daniel Jones comes in and it's like, well, here's an average quarterback, and if you're a below average team with an average quarterback, it's kind of like it's the head coach's fault. At least that might be what the owners decide. So yeah, I could see this just being a hot seat. Like maybe Steichen is just on the hot seat no matter who the quarterback is.
I understand that. I think it plays. I think it's different in this context because I think Anthony Richardson is different in this case because there have been, in his rookie season, when he gets hurt, there were so many questions of like, what is he doing outside of, the organization? He was not in-house. He was barely there throughout the rest of the season. No one really ever saw him. The only time I ever saw him showed up was when he went to a Colts fan's house and said hello in his sling. It was a really weird video. It's really awkward if you want to go find it. But and then with last season, with so many weird questions, specifically rounded with the decision to tap out of a game as a quarterback. I think it's different in that way. Yes, Shane Steichen took Anthony Richardson, and they are kind of linked because of that. But I think it's different because it's not Shane Steichen that has failed the organization or that he has failed Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson's failed himself. He has not put in the work. He has not prepared well enough. He's not, lived up to the potential that he clearly had, and a lot of people believed in him. And you see plays that he can make, like he could have been one of the best quarterbacks in the league if he had wanted it.
And I want to, while you're talking about AR's talent, Sven said that he wouldn't consider starting Richardson and that Daniel Jones has talent, so he should let him play. Actually said Daniel Jones at least has talent, which implies Anthony Richardson does not. And that's where I'd push back a little bit because I feel like as far as talent goes, Anthony Richardson has almost unlimited talent. I mean, he has one of the best builds. He had one of the best combines. He's taught from a QB prospect. The talent is very much there. It's like you just said. He wasn't locked in. He wasn't showing up to practices he just wasn't doing all the little things off the field to be successful on the field. And I think that's kind of where the struggle is. Whereas Daniel Jones, I don't think has all the talent. We saw him trip over his own feet while he was running.
That can happen to anybody.
Yeah, but Justin Herbert threw
JP,
4
we're going to keep moving.
Choked the playoff game.
So I just don't see Daniel Jones
Twice.
having that much talent. I would say that Anthony Richardson has as potentially the top 10 talent and bottom 10 execution and taking advantage of that talent. So that's where I'd push back a little bit. And I agree. I see Daniel Jones being the starter. I don't think it's a talent thing. I think it's a commitment and buy-in thing. I have also seen things. Yes, I agree. Richardson does not put in the work where it's needed. And that is arguably a mental talent, but when people, I guess it's a word thing. Like when people say talent, they're not usually referring to a mental thing. That's like separate, right? Would you all agree?
Yeah.
Like when you say talent, you're talking about their physical abilities.
I mean, God refers to talent
John Morant.
He's given us that we're good at. So
yes.
John Morant has talented at getting in trouble for.
Very true.
But you also have people who can lock in and commit, and even though that's not their talent, they just do it because they're just gonna do it.
They're good at locking in. Then they're talented at locking in.
I guess.
Herbert's good in that SoFi commercial.
He's a great actor.
Yeah.
Dude,
is he a better actor or quarterback?
Right now, actor because he
Crazy.
doesn't have a
Did
plan.
y'all remember the Baker? Okay, I love these commercials. The Baker Mayfield State Farm. I think it was
Progressive. Wasn't it Progressive?
No. The ones that was like in his.
It was Progressive.
It was Progressive.
Yeah, in the stadium,
in
like
the
it was his
stadium,
house.
where he was like cleaning it and stuff.
Yeah, no, those
Fire.
were good commercials.
Those were
before the Browns.
He's got
turned on.
playoff wins.
He does.
Yeah.
He's a dog.
yeah.
Also
he's a-
grabs his
playoff
crotch live on TV.
Yeah. I would start Daniel Jones. I think they're going to start Daniel Jones, and I'm different to these two guys to my left in terms of my prediction for the season. I think the Colts are going to be fine with Daniel Jones. I think they're going to be mid. I think they're going to be 8-9 again. Shane Steichen has shown that this is a team really kind of no matter what talent necessarily is on the roster, which is basically the same collection of guys for the third year now. And it's really been the same collection of guys for 7 years now. They just keep kind of bringing them back. This team is a team that would be right there in the middle at 8-9. And I think the schedule plays out well enough that they can pick up wins. Jonathan Taylor's still here. He's one of the best backs in the league. Michael Pittman is actually graded out to being one of the better receivers in terms of a fantasy football perspective. Josh Downs is still here. They bring in Tyler Warren, who a lot of people like. I haven't heard a lot of people that don't think Tyler Warren is going to be impactful. JT Tuimaleau joins the defensive line, which has already had a good amount of guys that can play good football, and Kwity Paye. You still have the duo of DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart. You have Latu. I pronounced that wrong. I know.
Layatu Latu.
Layatu
I
Latu.
believe that's right, but I also could mess it up.
Obviously, Travarius Ward rejoins them. And then Cam Bynum, I already think, for one, that's going to be, I talked about in the Vikings video, I think this is a massive addition for the Colts from a locker room perspective.
Yeah.
Because now the Colts are going to have the best dances on turnovers in the league. And they, in fact, were the third best team in terms of interceptions last season. So if they can continue
So they have a lot of
that,
opportunities to break out the celebration.
then they will break out some great celebrations with Cam Bynum.
It's a lot of stress for Cam Bynum. He's got to come up with a lot of different things to do.
Yeah.
He's got talent like that.
Yeah, he's
He's
talented.
also
at
got
coming
the
up with
drive and
interception.
lock for that.
Yeah.
So I've got them going 8-9 again. I think there's enough wins on that schedule. The division is bad enough where they can beat Tennessee, and they can. I mean, they're not going to win in Jacksonville, and I have to give you all a ton of credit for not picking them to win in Jacksonville.
I'm low on Jacksonville.
I didn't know that was a
because
thing. I just got
it's
lucky.
because you're low on Jacksonville, but that is a curse. That is a well-known curse. The Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014. That is over a decade, and that is enough of a stat, I would argue, even though I've brought up a lot of stats so far in these predictions. That's enough of a stat
I'm a
to say.
huge trend guy, so I'm there.
The trend says they won't win that game in Week 14, so go ahead and put all your money on it if it's out there available. But I have them going 8-9, but y'all have them going 5-12, not 1-12.
We both have them going 5-12, and our fan has them going 10-7.
Yes,
I wish we could have asked
Larry the Lobster is correct on that.
I wish we could have asked Larry what his thoughts were on
I can.
Anthony Richardson.
He texted. Oh, he did not text me about the Anthony Richardson thing.
Or
I
you
can
just-
read.
Yeah, just give him his quick notes. That's why he goes 10-7.
Let me read you his.
He's got some notes.
And then
he-
I can mention why he's wrong. But
Yeah, he texted me the record and said, "Quick notes. I feel like we improved on defense and got a tight end, so we'll do a little bit better this year." Which they went 8-9 last year, so 10-7 is a little bit better. We have a history of losing first game of the season, but I think we get it against the Dolphins at home. We won the last time in Germany, so what's stopping us this time? And then I think that we do have a similar outcome of a close race against the Texans, but we lose the race. Might snag a wild card, but who knows? Maybe Danny Dimes has a comeback tour. I don't even know if I'd call it a comeback tour as much as a first appearance tour. I don't know that.
Well, Sanders. He's won a playoff game. He's made an appearance. He beat a Vikings team that won the NFC North.
Yes, but the Viking teams was not good that year.
okay, but
They had
regardless,
Kirk Cousins.
if he makes it back, that's good
Yeah.
job, Danny.
Yeah.
Dimes.
They were good that year. They had double-digit wins.
I need him to come out next year and instead of having his hair pushed back and gelled up, it's shaggy and in
Danny Dimes?
in his face.
That would
and
be
he's just
funny.
got a new persona
I
and then
don't-
goes crazy.
I don't remember if he's still dating Kay Adams, but if he is, that's also a huge factor in this story.
True, that's a big confidence boost.
Yes,
It's
I would
huge.
agree 100%.
So that is something
But
to keep
Kevin
track of.
Durant has been very active in that situation.
Kevin Durant, though, he's in the club putting up jump shots, so he's got bigger worries than girls.
Fair. That is also true. But y'all have him at 5-12. I would love some explanation here because I don't. Is it a roster
No.
thing? Is it the quarterback play is that bad?
So yeah, I can
Yeah.
hop in because I don't think it's a roster thing. I think they're more talented roster than a 5-12 team. I'm just predicting for it all to kind of blow up in terms of the quarterbacks and with Steichen as well. So that's kind of where I'm getting the 5-12 from. Is they're going to be the team that it's not going or it's going not great because of poor quarterback play, and then they kind of just say, "Oh, screw it," and kind of blow things up and look to kind of start again next year.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm getting it from because I like the pieces they add in the offseason. I love the addition of Tyler Warren in the draft. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like predicting some chaos.
Yeah.
So.
I also just am not a huge fan of the wide receiver room. I don't like having Michael Pittman as a wide receiver one. JP clearly disagrees with that. I feel like he's one of those guys where every year, or at least for the first, he's in what, year 7 now? 6? Somewhere in there.
Where's your video of him and his girlfriend fishing on YouTube one time when he was at USC?
So I don't like having
With Justin Herbert, actually, speaking of him.
no way.
How about
You
that?
have to
No,
tell
because
me.
Justin Herbert's a big fisher.
He is big.
That's
Huge.
crazy.
So, sorry.
Is he a better fisher or quarterback?
Probably better fisher.
Fisher. Clearly.
Maybe he and Daniel Jones should have a fish off. We should see if we can get that.
I don't know if we have
I
pull
don't know
for
if
that.
Daniel Jones is a fisher either.
Well, he's got to diversify his abilities. I don't like having Michael Pittman as my wide receiver 1. I just have not been impressed with him as far as like being an elite wide receiver goes. And then also their defensive line, like I said, recorded 2.1 sacks a game last year, which was in the bottom half of the league, and they made 0 changes to that. So I just was not impressed with the changes they made, and do not think that Daniel Jones is going to be able to lead that team to a lot of wins. Go ahead, JP.
Sure. A big, in terms of losses, they lost a veteran in Joe Flacco, which I think could be a question in the quarterback room if there was one, of that kind of being a presence. Can Daniel Jones kind of be that presence in a locker room?
I mean, if Flacco was there, he would start, right? Over Jones.
No, Daniel Jones would start.
Over Flacco?
I mean, if you bring Daniel Jones in that 1 year, $15 million, you're not.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you take the money out and the length of the deals out, if you
I would start.
start
you
Daniel
would start Jones over Flacco?
Yes.
Okay.
But I think, again, Joe Flacco has won a Super Bowl, which is
that is more than a playoff win.
Yes, and which is even more than 0 playoff wins. But I would start Daniel Jones this season, regardless if Joe Flacco was still here. But I think that could be a question for the quarterback room. I just don't see. I think that there's still weapons there with Jonathan Taylor still being one of the best backs in the league. The offensive line is still kind of what it is, although they weren't necessarily great last year. A large part of that was because Anthony Richardson was behind the center, under center, I should say. But they have, yes, while Michael Pittman isn't excellent, they have a good collection of weapons in Josh Downs and Pittman and Tyler Warren and Alec Pierce as well. And I think that Adonai Mitchell as well in year 2, I think is going to have a good year. I thought he had some bright moments in spots last year. He just also had Anthony Richardson, who was throwing for like 120 yards a game at one point. So I think they've got enough weapons for Daniel Jones. And if you wanted to compare, I think the weapons are better than what he had in New York. And he was able to do fine with those weapons. The Colts are going to be a team for me this year is like, man, if I'm a fan of the other team, I'm going to hate losing to this team. Like, why are we losing to Daniel Jones?
I think I'd rather get pieced up by anyone else in the league than Daniel Jones.
Yeah, like that's how it's going to feel, is just like, man, we're losing to Daniel Jones and the Colts this year, and I think they're going to do that 8 times. Even the Titans are going to feel that. I think with Cam Ward and them, like they would feel like, oh, we should be winning this game. But I think there's enough players on this team that are talented enough that this is a team that can get to 8 wins, which would be over their Vegas win total at 7.5. Vegas is still pretty high on them. Apparently, y'all would like to put some money on under 7.5.
Yeah.
I don't like that bet. I don't think that's a good bet.
That's fair.
Shane Steichen has proven, and this roster and this organization has proven that they're no necessarily different than Pittsburgh, and that they're going to be right there in that grouping. And then maybe one off every here and there, they're going to have a terrible season and be in the top 5 for a quarterback.
Sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put money on it either, because obviously I have them going 5-12, but putting money on a drastic outcome to happen, like it kind of all blowing up,
Sure.
And
that's not a good bet.